The Undercountry Music News is an excerpt of the weekly internet broadcast Undercountry Music, which features music from great country artists you won't hear on mainstream radio, as well as a roundup of the most interesting country music news of the week without all the fluff. To listen and subscribe to the full weekly episode, please visit undercountrymusic.com or simply subscribe to the Undercountry Music Podcast on iTunes. Let's get into it. It is time for the Undercountry Music News. Like to practice my hog calls while I eat pretzels and broadcast. It's my thing. Don't judge. Don't be a hater-rater. Anyway, welcome to those of you listening on Spreaker and possibly iHeartRadio. I submitted the Undercountry Music News to iHeartRadio just the other day. Last time I checked, it was still pending. That's not a no. So I'm going to keep my fingers and my toes crossed here because I would love to be rocking the iHeartRadio for you here on the Undercountry Music News, which is the portion of the show where I, Neal Smith, delve into the week in country music news. And what I do is I cut past the fluff and garbage and the press releases. Although if a press release is interesting enough and it's actual news, I might let it slide. You know, I'm the big cheese around here. So, I have that power. If you want that power, go start your own frickin' show. Anyway, where was I? Oh, yes. What I do is, though, how I do this is I go onto Google and I type in, of all things, I type in the search term country music news. And then up pop all the, mainstream top country music news sites. But what I've found in my time doing this is that quite often those country music news sites will fill their news rolls with, a lot of BS press releases. And, what does Darius Rucker really look for in a Chinese restaurant? Or, some stupid crap like that. Okay? My job here is to cut through all that junk that they fill the news rolls with, and a lot of them, there's some sites where that's all they put in is junk like that. It's my job to go on all these sites and find the one or two actual essential country music news stories of the week that I can bring to you. And I get one or two from here, one or two from there, and then, and so on and so forth. And after about 6 or 7 websites, I've got a pretty good news roll of my own to bring you of just the essential country music news that you can't use. Because honestly, you really can't usually use news anyway. So, just because it rhymes, I ain't going to say it. Roses are red, violets are blue. Let's get into the Undercountry Music News. Oh, darn, I was trying not to rhyme. Shoot fire. Anyway. Oh, yes. If I go onto one of these websites that's purporting to have country music news, and they've got nothing but, Darius Rucker, Chinese food tips, I reward such horrible websites with the dreaded Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the Week. And let's see if I can do that with pretzels in my mouth here to give you a little demonstration of what that might sound like. Here. That was just a small taste. Hopefully I'll work up a bigger and better one later in the show. If in chance someone does get rewarded with the Undercountry Music News Wet Belch of the Week, which doesn't happen every single week. Sometimes, I went a month once without belching at all. That was a sad month. Anyway, let's get into it. Over at CMT, Country Music Television, and for those of you just tuning in, I'm eating pretzels while I talk today, and I don't care. Reba and Brooks and Dunn have added 3 new dates to their upcoming run of shows at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. And instead of the usual habit in the industry of adding shows on to the end of the run to continue the run, they have instead added these shows to the week before their run was scheduled to begin. Their first show will now kick off June 17th at Caesars Palace. Moving along to Country Weekly. Writer Bob Paxman. He is reporting that Ronnie Milsap will be honored with an exhibit at the Country Music Hall of Fame entitled Ronnie Milsap, A Legend in My Time. And it will feature pretty much all of the same crap that every other exhibit features for every other artist that gets an exhibit at the Country Music Hall of Fame. So there you go. And apparently it's Museum Day over at Country Weekly because John Freeman is reporting that the George Jones Museum is set to open the weekend of April 24th in Nashville at the former site of Graham Central Station. The museum is going to feature clothing, artifacts, photographs, and more. In other words, also all the same crap every other effing museum features, along with a gift shop, restaurant, event space, and a rooftop bar. And one interesting thing, twist on this, is that this launch will also kick off the debut of White Lightning Moonshine, which will be a part of a product line of George Jones branded liquors. So, you know, if you want to get swerving like your George Jones, well, now you know where to go. Just designate a driver before you try to get home. And this next one over at Country Weekly is sort of a shocker to me. And I'll explain. A few weeks ago, Ronnie Dunn teased at a relationship with NashIcon music label, which is, you know, been going for all the absolute top names in country, the absolute top tier, like Shania, and, you know, they're trying to get Garth and I'm not sure they got Garth, but anyway, you know, that's their goal there. And they got, I think they got Reba signed on with them. I don't know who that, I don't write all this down every time I hear it. But anyway, it also stated a few weeks ago when this was teased that he and Kix Brooks were talking. Now, I took this to mean that a Brooks and Dunn reunion was almost certain because Ronnie Dunn by himself, I didn't see him as commanding that level of what NashIcon was supposedly, you know, all about. You know, I mean, he's put out a few solo songs, and I mean, none of them have exactly set the world on fire. I think we can all agree on that. I don't think I'm hating on Ronnie Dunn by saying that. Well, Brooks and Dunn, they have reunited for a string of Vegas shows, so I predicted that correctly. But this article this week in Country Weekly seems to strongly indicate that Ronnie Dunn has actually instead been signed as a solo act to NashIcon and does not refer at all to any possibility of a Brooks and Dunn, new music endeavor where they might go in and cut a new album. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, and it doesn't mean it's not going to be on NashIcon. All I'm saying is that this article paid no attention to that, and it was all about Ronnie Dunn on NashIcon. No mention of Kix. So color me befuddled and color Ronnie Dunn doing a very big happy dance right now because he ain't got to split it with Kix. So, who knows? Well, then again, maybe he'd have more to split if he had Kix. But that's going to be for people above my pay grade to hash out here. Moving along to Taste of Country. I'm going to taste another pretzel here. Yummy. It's those waffle pretzels. Those ones like cut into a crisscross shape. Anyway, over at Taste of Country, and let me digest my pretzel for this one because this one's a little more serious of a tone. All right. Scotty McCreery's grandfather, Bill McCreery, has died at age 86. Now, Scotty credits his grandfather with his signature deep voice. Now, how do you credit your grandfather? I mean, get maybe genetics, but I mean, what, does grandfather make him stand out in the cold and get hoarse until he talks like this? Who knows? But anyway, rest in peace, Bill McCreery. You deep-voiced bastard. Right, and Sonny Sweeney. She has helped an Iraqi War veteran become reunited with a sterling silver ring commemorating his service. And he's been reunited with it just prior to his 10-year anniversary of deployment. Now, it seems the veteran had accidentally left the ring in a hotel room in Natchez, Mississippi, and Sonny Sweeney's aunt discovered it while staying in that room. Now, her aunt wanted a little help in trying to get this back to the right owner and knew that Sonny Sweeney had pretty decent-sized megaphone out in the internet verse. So Sonny did a blast out on Facebook and probably a few other places as well. And the true owner of the ring, I guess they determined it somehow, turned up, and they all lived happily ever after. That's Sonny Sweeney. I bet she was wearing a dress with petunias on it that day. All right. Hacking on over to the GAC, which is GAC, which is Great American Country, which they rarely report on over there at GAC. But they do have one thing, and it's close enough to country music news to spare them from the wet belch of the week. And the story is the announcement of the Shaky Boots Festival coming to Kennesaw, Georgia in mid-May, featuring 3 headliners in 2 nights by way of Blake Shelton, Brad Paisley, and Dierks Bentley, as well as a plethora of many, many other big names like Dwight Yoakam and Rascal Flatts. How are these guys not named as co-conspirating headliners? But anyway, they're on there along with just tons and tons of other well-known country acts. So if you're going to be anywhere around the Kennesaw, Georgia area, that might be a show to check out. All right. Sliding across the dial pad over to the 615, which is a subsection of Billboard.com, named after the area code for Nashville, 615, and dedicated to the music of Nashville. And 615 is reporting that T.G. Sheppard has been released from the hospital after undergoing a heart procedure called ablation. And apparently this procedure is intended to keep the heart in rhythm. Now, there weren't any further details about what prompted the hospitalization, like what happened that he went in, maybe like clutching his chest, sharp pains, or whatever. But anyway, the article does indicate that T.G. Sheppard will be returning to performing within 1 week. That's cool. You rock on, T.G. And also, there has been a YouTube video going around on Facebook and other various social media formats, and they also have this video posted here on the 615, where somebody took 6 modern popular country songs and edited them together in order to prove a point about how Music Row is just releasing the same tired song over and over and over again and just basically rearranging the bad cliches. Now, the average country music consumer, has just basically been called out, and basically been, shown to be, to too stupid to realize that they keep buying the same song over and over and over again. Hey, don't take my word for it. Go check it out for yourself over at the 615. All right, kicking my Dunn over to theboot.com, which is going to do it for us on this segment, okay? But before we go, the Boot, the only real news story I could find at the Boot is the passing of a B-level artist, and I mean that in the sense that he just wasn't very well known. Doesn't mean his quality at all. A very B-level artist around the Nashville greater metropolitan area, singer-songwriter A.J. Masters. Now, A.J. Masters, he has died recently, and his credits include songs for Faith Hill, Randy Travis, the Oak Ridge Boys, and also being named Independent Male Vocalist of the Year by the Academy of Country Music in the mid-'80s. It's a nice article and a nice tribute worth paying some attention to, and really that's all I got, because this has been your Undercountry Music News. I will crunch on echoey pretzels for you. So buttery. Thank you for listening to the Undercountry Music News. The Undercountry Music News is just a small excerpt of the weekly hour-long internet broadcast Undercountry Music, where I play music and have great interviews by lesser-known original country acts. Get on over to undercountrymusic.com, where you can listen and subscribe. Stay under, stay country.